let me bring in founder and executive director of the National Security Institute at Scalia Law School, Jamil Jaffer. Jamil, always good to have you. I mean, 2 cases in a week's time, both Chinese researchers at Michigan. What are the chances these cases aren't connected?
Well, you gotta wonder, because both of these individuals are accused of bringing biological material into the United States, material that could be potentially harmful to our agricultural system. The first case involved a fungus. That was a fungus that's found around wheat that could potentially really destroy crops. It's because you bring in a different species that can have a real effect on the environment. That's why you control those type of biological features. Now, the second one is related to roundworms. We don't know a lot of details about this particular biological material, but what we do know is that both of these required certain licenses. The latter one is allowed to be brought in, but you need certain permissions. She didn't do that. And on top of that, as she was arriving in the United States, a few days before she arrived, she deleted all the text messages on her phone. Now, she says it's because she wanted to start over fresh, but it raises significant questions. Was this intentional, and what's going on? And to your point, Marky, is there a relationship between these two? We don't know of one yet, but it's very clear that the government is onto this issue, and they're exploring these questions and trying to find out whether there are linkages between these 2 cases.
Yeah, we had the fungus last week, and then this roundworm material was found hidden between the pages of a book. I mean, any legitimate reason that these researchers would have these materials other than harm or crop destruction? And if it is just routine lab work that you're studying as a researcher, why not just go through the proper channels and protocols?
Well, that's exactly it. Why would you conceal it? Why would you try to avoid people finding out about it? It seems clear, at least the atmospherics around it suggest that she knew she was doing something wrong. She fessed up to it in this case of the roundworm material. And so the question now is, why was she bringing it in? It could very well be, a lot of times people will bring stuff in to do research, and they'll hide it because they haven't gotten the materials, they haven't gotten the approvals, and now they're on the way and they need to do it. But there's a lot of odd behavior here with the deleting of text messages. Suggests something more concerning is going on. Again, the government has the burden of proof. We'll see what facts they bring to bear at trial. But at least as of right now, there's a lot of suspicious things going on here that raise questions and concerns about what her motivation was in hiding this material she brought into the country.
And then you also have FBI Director Kash Patel, who recently warned that the Chinese Communist Party is deploying operatives and researchers to infiltrate American institutions and target our food supply. Direct quote from him there. Break that down for us, how China is doing that, and whether you see any connection with all the farmland that they own across the United States and possibly this story.
Well, obviously, there are a lot of deep concerns about the way that China is operating here in the United States. Marky, we've heard stories now for a few years about these Chinese police stations that are here spread out through the United States, looking to police up what Chinese Americans or Chinese nationals who are in the United States are doing and saying, and threatening them and bringing their families here to threaten them. That's a huge problem. On top of that, we know the Chinese government is one of the most aggressive collectors of intelligence, not just our government, but against our private sector, taking terabytes of data from American companies, stealing it and using it for economic purposes in China to build their economy up. And now we've seen an increasing trend, and we've learned more about this trend of both putting their own researchers in American universities to pull data out, but also recruiting Americans. There's a huge program, the 1,000 Talents program, they're using to try to recruit Americans and other nationals to come to China, use their information, and eventually make them sort of paid assets to the Chinese Communist Party. And now this new question. We've always known that a variety of countries, but China most aggressively, had people in the United States trying to steal our biological secrets. Bringing new biological material into the country, potentially for nefarious purposes, buying up land around military bases, as you point out, the purchase of farmland, and placing potential exploits in American computer systems that could have harmful effect, whether that's cranes at ports or other critical infrastructure systems around the globe. They've identified the Salt Typhoon attacks against our telecoms and the Volt Typhoon attacks against critical infrastructure. These are huge issues, Marky. So we're at some level, we're almost in a low-level fight with China. I don't say war, but a fight with China. And we're not paying attention to it. They know it. We're not paying close attention and acting like we are.
And it makes you wonder if you've heard about just, these 2 cases in the span of a week's time. What other cases are out there that we haven't heard of? How prevalent is this at other schools right now? Jamil Jaffer, thank you so much for your time, as always. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.